Right, just for clarity's sake, I am not trying to convince or dissuade people from using Memento. I use Memento, I have it on a fair few builds. It works. However, Memento is not really the be all and end all of builds, and there are a lot of people that misguidedly use it when there are a variety of other things that will quite easily outperform it. Now, this is going to be specifically related to using it on what would be typically a full red build that you've just put Memento on, because there's two glaring issues. One, the damage it's actually giving you is 30% all weapon damage. You'd get another 30 as well, obviously, for 10 seconds upon picking up a token, but even that is not really going to compare. The other being, typically on a full red build, the armor regen that you will gain. Now, I actually spent a stupid amount of time just to show this. So a Bellstone with a red core, crit chance, crit damage, and then whatever mod you want, will regenerate per second 7,260 armor. On the second that you get a kill as well with Gunner, that's 72,602. The total is 79,862. Same thing again, but this is used. Next one is a Bellstone backpack with a blue core, crit chance, crit damage, etc, etc. Regen 9130, armor on kill would be 91,302. Total is 100,432. Memento, on the other hand, is 27,390. That's 3% armor regen of the same armor that the Bellstone would give you. So the armor on kill is the same as well, 91,302. Total armor on kill on the second that you get your armor regen tick as well is 118,692. So it's quite obvious that Memento is going to win in armor regen, just because Bellstone with the blue core is still only 1%, whereas Memento at max is 3%. Pretty obvious. However, why am I mentioning Bellstone? Well, it's actually quite simple. A Bellstone with a blue core, crit chance, crit damage, whatever mod you want, and then Vigilance, for example, or whatever else talent you wanted, will, in terms of output and damage, outperform Memento. So this is the build I'm actually running in the footage. I'm not using a FAMAS though, I'm using something else. I used FAMAS for the calculations, which I'll be using the spreadsheet for, but Providence Defense Mask, crit chance, crit damage, crit chance mod, Memento backpack with a crit damage mod, Sacrifice chest, crit chance, crit damage, and the crit damage mod, Grupo gloves, crit chance, crit damage, Providence holster, crit chance, crit damage, and Fox's prayer for crit damage. And I will be putting this up directly up against this. All I've done is replace the backpack to Bellstone. Still got a blue core, crit chance, crit damage. Another thing that will have changed is the crit chance mod is now crit damage in the mask. But other than that, everything else is the same. Now, annoyingly, you're going to have to trust the spreadsheet on this one. I actually don't have this backpack to test. I tried farming one. I thought I had one. Turns out I don't. I'm an idiot. But hopefully at this point we can determine that my numbers are pretty accurate. So, first things first. One thing that you will notice is that on a blue Bellstone backpack, although it seems like you're dropping damage because the actual crit numbers are going to be slightly lower, in terms of overall DPS you gain a whopping massive, huge 0.03% in total DPS. And it's just because your non-crits are hitting quite a bit harder. So the top build with all weapon damage at 1.3 is with Memento at max. Body non-crit 176251, body crit is 535804, head 308440, head crit is 667993, total DPS is 7,862,000. Bottom build with 0.85% all weapon damage, but we have vigilance because total weapon damage is at 0.25. We've also dropped a little bit in crit damage as well, simply because I'm assuming that on the Memento build I'm running Killer, and Killer is active, so 40% of that 2.04 is Killer active. And even with Killer active, and I've not even put a talent on the second build or equated it, it's not in there, and you will see as we go along total DPS is 7,864,000, so we're going to be doing 2,000 more in DPS, which is 0.03% increase. So in terms of overall damage, Bellstone with Vigilance is doing more. Now granted, yes, Memento, that if you take damage you don't lose the damage application, but with Vigilance you do. Well, the funny part is no matter how you want to work it, put Killer on your weapon, because that's not been put in as well. That actually puts you higher. So this is the exact same build again, but this time I've equated Killer into it. As you can see, we got 2.28 critical hit damage, an extra 40% from Killer. Yeah, we've just gained 8.37% more DPS. Now our non-crits and our crits, as well as our headshots, non-crit and crits, consistently hit harder than Memento. And to be fair, it's not really that hard to keep Vigilance active. Now, despite this, I know full well a lot of people are going to be like, but it's not just about the one stat that Memento gives. True, it does give armor regen, skill efficiency, as well as weapon damage. Thing is, you can put Bellstone on with an armor core. There's your armor regen, because you're only losing out on like 18,000, which is not, it's like 18,250. Exactly. Like, that is the exact number you're missing at, 18,000 armor. On most of it's actually coming from armor on kill anyway. So just keep killing stuff if you've got gunner on at least anyway. So in terms of your armor regen, Bellstone keeps up. In terms of damage, Bellstone does more. So the only thing left is skill efficiency. Well, on the build where we are running without a damage talent, where we're still doing more, admittedly not by much, put Future Perfect on. 3 skill tiers will definitely beat 30% skill efficiency. They are. Problem solved. Don't necessarily have to run Vigilance either. Hell, you could actually just put a damage talent on. Put Preservation on. They are. There's even more armor regen, which will do even more. Anyway, just to show, all weapon damage here is looking a bit nuts. I've only got 20% from the expertise and 12% on this, as you can see. But in my stats, it's adding on another 30% because of how and where Memento is adding into that calculation. The only thing that really goes against what I'm actually saying here is the RNG nature of the game. You'd have to find a decent weapon to put Preservation on or Future Perfect on. You'd have to find a decent Bellstone backpack to get the right way. You could even run a full red Bellstone backpack, and that does phenomenally well. Memento is just pure easy, which I get. It's one of the main reasons that I think I've got it on like 3 builds. That's really it. However, where Memento actually shines Because for damage, it's not great. It's nowhere near even close to being optimal. For armor regen, it's okay. There are better options, but you're playing a seriously hardcore RNG game. Memento is just kind of like, throw it in. The only place where Memento really, really shines is on skill efficiency builds. 3-piece Empress, Memento, drone turret. That's pretty much where Memento shines, is you're able to get so much skill efficiency that cooldowns don't matter. You can make your drones and turrets very tanky. They still do pretty decent damage. You don't even have to run drone and turret. You could run like a chems for healing, because skill efficiency gives you literally everything. It's purely just because of where it's skill efficiency. If there was like, I don't know, an engineering stat which increases like 1% engineering is 1% armor, 1% armor regen, 1% Hasbro. Yes, Memento would be amazing. If it was 1% weapon statistics, we'll call it. So it's 1% weapon damage, 1% weapon, essentially weapon handling. So accuracy, stability, and reload. Absolutely. But just where it's just weapon damage, armor regen, and then you got this OP-ness of just skill efficiency, Memento shines more as a skill build hybrid setup rather than a DPS hybrid setup or a tank hybrid setup. This is not to say that it cannot be used in those situations. I have a tank build with Memento on it. My point is, it's just not optimal. I have DPS builds with Memento on it. My point is, it's just not optimal. In short, if you are on your farming, come across a Bellstone with crit chance, crit damage and vigilance, you might want to keep hold of it. This is just to show what 3 skill tiers would give you if you ran Future Perfect and then a Bellstone. And that would be more healing if you just sit in your little chem puddle than Memento could even try and give you. It's about 3 times the healing, in fact. Obviously, yes, you can add these things into your Memento build to make your Memento build annoyingly less powerful. Because if we remove Killer or whatever damage talent you have on your AR, you are going to lose that horrifically in your overall DPS. So it's a weights game. Give a little here, take a little there. The point of this is just trying to simply show that if you've got a Memento in your build, really think about it. You've got plenty of other pieces that you can swap around, mix and match with a little bit of luck and RNG and farming that could potentially just make your build that little bit more optimal. Memento is the lazy, easy way out. Just try not to fall for it. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video. Have fun, good luck, don't die. It's bad for the health.